afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Propagandacast, your place for strategic, tactical analysis and history. Yes, indeed, with me, a host, Imperial Dane, Master of Propaganda and the Propagandacast. Heroes of Reich, Defender of the Fatherland, a 1 vs 1 on Semois. I keep looking for a 1 vs 1, but yeah, I'm still looking for it. Still nothing really good coming up. In the meanwhile, we shall be watching this slightly curious 1 vs 1 on Semois between Charles Blanchard. Again, my French is not so good, so Charles Blanchard is the best I can do, versus Budwise, which is considerably easier for me to pronounce. With the 3 engineers, by the way, Budwise going in very aggressively, very gung-ho with his engineers, fighting for the 1st Infantry Division against Charles Blanchard of the 17th SS Panzergrenadier Division Götz von Berlichingen. Sean? I will call him Sean. That is not to say the French did not fight for the Germans, but generally not on the Western Front. They did fight on the Eastern Front in their SS Grenadier Division Charlemagne, Charles the Great, blah. Again, damn you French for having such a tricky to pronounce language. Damn you. And of course, I'm definitely not winning any favors with the French segment of the Propagandacast viewership right there. Anyways, we are seeing a Volkswagen squad out first here for Sean. A Rifleman squad out there for Budwise. And a bit of an aggressive posture towards here, going to secure those high munitions initially. In fact, we are seeing a very aggressive munition-specific capping order right there from Les Budwise. And we also note here that Sean is wiring off this area to protect. I mean, only though, mind you, barbed wire right here will only protect against riflemen or a really inattentive use of engineers. Otherwise, again, engineers will cut the barbed wire, in which case you just spend all the time wiring off that area for nothing and leaving your pioneers a bit sad. So why did he have to cut the barbed wire? I had stung my hand so many times on it. Verdammten Amerikaner! Volksgrenadiers though continuing it, and we're seeing a second squad of Volksgrenadiers out here for Sean, and we're seeing a Kampfkraftcenter getting up pretty damn early right here for our friend of the Wehrmacht, which is definitely out of the ordinary, not your usual stuff. But while still heading in here, sneaking up here and there, everywhere in fact, enveloping already. But there we go, the first engagement in, the Volksgrenadiers engaging the engineers, Kar 98 kills and a single Sturmgewehr on single shot mode, firing at the engineers running for the building, kicking the door in, come on! Get in or die. And there we go, the engineers get out and then run out the back door, having realised they probably won't do much with their submachine guns against the gentlemen with the rifles. There we go, another engineer squad away. Rifle taking up position behind the cafe and then advancing up, following the wall. And there we go, engineers joining in, moving in close for a bit of a skirmish right there with the Volksgrenadiers, and there we go, we do see that the riflemen combined with the engineer submachine guns do quickly overwhelm, and we also note here that Sean realizes rather quickly he can't win this fight, so what does he do? Instead of fighting in on, losing some men, he retreats. I mean, he's got a few kills, in fact, so this was overall while he might lose territory, he will have preserved manpower. So overall, very nice unit preservation right there from Sean, and of course, the quick veterans who won will actually also ensure his troops will have a slight advantage against riflemen early on, since they can then slowly but surely heal themselves. But his troops will not. I mean, note though, it won't be going very, very fast. I mean, it's pretty much just teaching them how to put on band-aids, or just, giving them band-aids. Ja, Hans, you put this on where you've been shot. Ah, that's good. And then we've got a third squad of Volksgrenadiers, so Sean going for a pretty unusual strategy right here. Is very Volksgrenadier heavy, very aggressive strategy, by the way, very infantry push, and of course the veterans one will slightly again give him a help. I'm not entirely sure I would actually fully push a rifleman versus Volksgrenadier fight, since again they will be healed even while fighting, and of course that might in some cases actually give the Volksgrenadiers a slight edge against riflemen initially. But we do see that Sean is very much pushing them together in groups, which is rather where the Volksgrenadiers excel. Partly because then you also get more of that single shot Sturmgewehr, which then actually gives the force the overall advantage. And again, having then focused the same squad means those, again, Sturmgewehrs will then really, tear through a rifle squad, because, again, they do considerably more damage. I do believe they also fire slightly faster, so. And they are more accurate. So in that sense, something to consider. Again, the Volksgrenadier squad is more a unit that works better with other units, preferably other Volksgrenadiers or Grenadiers, whereas Riflemen, they're more independent, they're more the Lone Ranger of the army type. Well, not Rangers technically, but they stand a bit more when they can fight from different angles. They don't need Heinz from slightly further down the street. But wiring off there very quickly against Sean. Again, very aggressive play. I mean, this is a Wehrmacht player who's really going all in, showing himself to be as a Sturm, which was also originally what a Waffen SS company was actually called. It was known as a Sturm. So, fun little fact there. Budwise, so keeping up the pressure against his fuel, though. Very nice play there by Budwise. Definitely good harassment. Good harassment, also showing here that the barbed wire ultimately does bollocks. And what would actually have been a good move is if then laid down from sandbags here or here to then allow him to actually fire upon the fuel point while himself being in heavy cover. We're seeing an additional squad of Volksgrenadiers moving in, and I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually seeing 5 squads of Volksgrenadiers out here for Jean Charles Blanchard. Or Blancard. Yes, I'll keep doing that for some time, I'm afraid. No refunds to you French viewers, I'm afraid. Pulling slightly back there, and of course with that amount of Volksgrenadiers, I would imagine Sean would benefit greatly from a medic bunker. I mean, that would mean he would pick up a lot of the casualties, get some Grenadier squads out to really support this, and then that would at least be my initial thought. If he isn't thinking it, I would suggest he actually think about it, because again, he could actually get a much more sturdy infantry force out of that one, and slowly but surely overpower Budwise that way, although of course Budwise could be aggressive, shoot down the medics. I'll go after with a demo charge. Right here we see the Volksgrenadiers getting burned alive, although the engineers rather realise they're not doing that much, except getting Heinz a bit toasty there. More Volksgrenadiers pushing up. And again, very aggressive play. We do see the punish sneak up here. He intends to actually hit Budwise's fuel point himself, and Atreus ended up going out for Budwise, thus ensuring he also gets his healing abilities. Though a bit faster when he's actually bigger base, but again, it won't follow him all across the battlefield. Veterans 1-1, and we're seeing veterancy too. Quite interesting. It increases the line of sight of Sean's Volksgrenadiers, and it also gives them a slight damage reduction bonus. I mean, we're talking 5%, so it's not going to stop that much, though it might provide some slight protection, for example, against grenades, ensuring it won't, for example, wipe out an entire squad, because the grenade pretty much has the exact same health as a Volksgrenadier, does as much damage, as a Volksgrenadier's health. So in that sense, a grenade can actually wipe out a squad of Volksgrenadiers if you're a bit unlucky, in fact. And veterancy too, in fact, will slightly help against that, since it's a universal damage reduction bonus. I mean, it won't really do much against bullets, but against grenades, you might have a slight chance of actually keeping some Volksgrenadiers alive that way. There we go, pushing up again. Slightly blobby play though now from Sean. Again, I would like to see a bit of spread. Again, they should be able to fire on the same target, but they shouldn't, be that close to each other either. And there we go, he actually does spread them out. Tries to flank a bit. We do see Budweiser's troops getting caught a bit out in the open, getting shot a bit. We also see that he actually has grenades. He does try to get them off. There we go. Granate, the Volksgrenadiers get out of cover. One goes down. We're seeing more Volksgrenadiers going, and we do see Budweiser's troops are simply getting shredded. And a mine goes off there, almost killing off an entire engineer squad. Rifle squad could get cut down as the Volksgrenadiers advance. The 17th SS fighting hard for the fatherland. And there we go, Rifle squad down to 1 man. A BAR has been left behind. He should take it, he should secure it. Engineers pushing up with flamethrowers. Will the Volksgrenadiers be able to hold it? They're getting covered in fire. It's, oh dear. Krauts getting turned into sour and cooked krauts. Very brutal infantry engagement right here. Very brutal infantry play from both sides. And just an awful lot of infantry. And we're seeing that Sean is going for stormtroopers. Stoßtruppen, the more trained troops than the 17th SS being sent in here. In fact, the 17th SS, by the time of Normandy, had only had about, I think, 6 months of training. And usually the training time was somewhere closer to a year and a half, the full period. So, that's sort of the thing. They really hadn't got a lot of training, which actually rather showed in many ways. Though they did have some more veteran troops apart. Amongst them, usually SS troops from other divisions were formed to, used to form the core, the nucleus of the division. The veterans, the cadre. which gives the division form and structure. And there we go, mine going down, several mines going down from Budwise there. Excellent, excellent. Mines are good, except for your opponent, which is why they're good. And though we already see here that Jean already figuring he might get hit with mines, already getting a mine sweep, that is good play. Budwise though continuing with their harassment. And grenades and BARs definitely will have an advantage, of course, against all these Pfalz Grenadiers. We can leverage them correctly. But again, if Jean was to get a mini-Ganga, things might turn a bit ugly. And of course, we do have these stormtroopers marching out. They will definitely be a bit harder to take out for Budwise's troops. In fact, let's go look at Jean with the stormtroopers. And again, 5 squads of Pfalz Grenadiers and 1 stormtrooper squad. That means 6 squads of infantry. He definitely has a large infantry force in comparison to Budwise. And we see that Jean is taking up.
The enemy is seizing our territory. Yes, sir.
There we go, a large infantry assault moving in here against Les Budwise. Quickly rushing him off. Mines going down there, lovely, Budwise, lovely. Of course, he might not be aware that Sean does have a mine sweep, and he's slowly but surely clearing out all the mines that Budwise has been laying down. BAR there, I would like to see some Pfalz Grenadiers. Remember, oh wait, we saw that BAR drop up there. Perhaps, should go pick it up and have some extra firepower to use against those Yankee gangsters. Yeah? Nine? No? You just rather, okay. We'll just ignore it then. Panzergrenadier being upgraded here, of course, Sean aware that he might get hit with an armored car rush, although, considering the amount of manpower and fuel being expended by Budwise and empowering his infantry with grenades and BARs, of course, you probably shouldn't worry about it too quickly. One thing I would like to see, he's got 5 squads of Pfalz Grenadiers. At least 1 or 2 of them upgraded with MP40s. In fact, that would be the good mix. I think would really, diversify the amount of firepower he has. He could use the long range, to keep the Americans set down and then close in with the MP40s. I think that would give him a more nasty force. One grenade going out there with the rifleman. Doesn't really kill, but it does wound. Rifleman sneaking up using the cemetery. Pfalz Grenadiers holding up the cafe. And we do see the rifleman squad there rushed off. Map so far split 50-50. Another stormtrooper squad rolling in. 7 squads of infantry for Sean. And he's getting veterancy 3 for infantry. Which means that Pfalz Grenadiers and stormtroopers will be getting a considerable health bonus. At the same time, we see Budwise setting up an observation post, so he's clearly going for something bigger, something badder. He's clearly not intending on just playing with the infantry. He wants some armor. He wants some tanks to crush his opponent with. Rather than here getting overwhelmed by the Pfalz Grenadiers. Getting outnumbered despite the BARs. And there we go, grenade on from the Pfalz Grenadiers. And there we note, only losing 1 man despite being close. Again, the infantry does help a bit. Right from here, getting blasted by MG5 from the nearby bunker. And of course, suffer from the next bunker as well. And there we go, veterancy 3 for Sean's infantry, including the stormtroopers. Again, they're going to be the toughest infantry unit in this match, since they'll have elite armor from the veterancy 2, but also, again, they already started having a lot of health, and veterancy 3 just gives them more health, so these are going to be some tough bastards. Pioneers getting executed against the church wall, seemingly a bit by accident. And there we go, getting caught in an ambush between 2 veterancy 3 stormtrooper squads. That is definitely bad news for Budwise's rifleman. Grenade goes off. Oh, not doing much. Engineer setting off the mine by the cemetery wall, breaking down the wall, in fact. While the rifleman engineers quickly turn about the church. And then sneak about to hit the stormtroopers from a slightly less exposed angle, forcing the stormtroopers further and further back. At the same time, finding out here, Pfalz Grenadiers having teased the BAR, but they are getting grenade and they're getting suppressed, which means suppressive fire, which is good from Sean and Budwise, And now we see a Stu 42. Pfalz Grenadier squad here could get cut down. That would definitely be bad news. And there we go. Pfalz Grenadier squad is lost with a BAR for Sean, cutting him down to 6 squads of infantry again, which is still not bad. quite rare to see the Wehrmacht play that aggressively dominating with having more infantry, though again, they won't be quite as good as riflemen with BRs and grenades, though you still can do a lot with them. Stu 42 rushes in, and likely Budwise, of course, would have predicted this, and you have sticky bombs ready since, well, you know, Blitzkrieg players tend to like the Stu 42. And there you go, we do see the sticky bomb going off on Sean's Sturmhaubitze, damaging the engine. Bit of lighter harassment going on there. Stu 42 in mild trouble. Rifle engineers should be a bit careful. They are in front of the Stu 42. Engineers got wiped out as Volkskriegs arrive from the south, and we do see some of the riflemen basically running away very swiftly. Rest of the force here ready and large. I mean, you see for the larger part that again, I mean, Sean's forces generally stay in, you know, tip-top health. I mean, they're generally, you know, not the type to be, you know, for example, you know, having been fully reinforced, but still, you know, below 50% health. So, Veterans 1 does have its advantages in the longer run as well. A tank depot going out for Budwise. Should be good fun. Victory point being secured. Rifleman sneaking up there. The Stu 42 though has not been repaired, and it has been immobilized. So the rifleman here will be able to just get off sticky bombs without having to worry about anything really, except the response from Sean and his Volksgrenadiers and Stormtroopers, who are at this very moment just rushing in hordes. And looks like some engineers met their demise at the hand of Volksgrenadiers. Another Panzergrenadier ready. Veterans 1 for the Stu 42. And of course the interesting thing is, I mean, Sean perhaps might want to consider, you know, just taking up getting either Sturmarmy or Panzerkommand and then getting some, you know, armor out, some artillery out. Something to support his assets a bit more, something to diversify his force a bit more as well. In particular now since he risks getting hit with German and tank destroyers. And there he goes, Stu 42 goes down. Nicely done there by Budwise, a bit of a risky move, but ultimately paid off. We immediately see another Stu 42 getting called in there by Jean. Quiet. 17th is advancing all across the front. Stu 42 was one of the sort of, you know, initial sort of attempt at creating a self-propelled gun that was more meant for blowing up buildings and other fortified positions with using some sort of howitzer. There was the initial one was called the Stu 33B or something like that, which was actually just a Stug with a heavy infantry gun mounted on it. Later on, you'd get the Sturmpanzer 4, as we see it in Company Beers 2, for that sort of job. And the ultimate one was the Sturmtiger, which was also quite impractical due to the fact it took several hours to reload after firing each shot. German here coming in a bit under 500 Panzerschrecks, and Stu 42 down to half health, so 4 needs to pull back. Rifleman pushing up here, coming under 500 Volkskriegs, the Stu 42, and of course other things. Smart engagement over here. The Volkskriegs simply get shredded. And he lost another squad of Volksgrenadiers, meaning he's now in fact down to 5 squads of infantry. Sean needs to be careful. That is actually some, all of a sudden, very quick attrition he's suffering. German, though, needs some swift repairs. We also see a weapon support, and that's obviously look like they're going to get snipers to try and deal with all this infantry. And again, the Veterans 3 Stormtroopers in particular will be easy targets for this sniper due to Veterans 2 giving elite armor, which the snipers can always hit. So there is a definite problem right there for Sean, awaiting him. In particular, since there's only really the Stu to hold up against that, and in that sense, I would really like to see a Panzer Command going up. Then he gets himself some Panzer Force and then goes to town with that, which would also be a bit trickier to deal with. Just to put it like that. Rifleman taking up a nice covering position. Stormtroopers though sending up to flank. Sniper nearby, and in fact already revealing himself. Stu 42 rolls up, and we do see the MG's been upgraded, which also in fact gives it a health bonus. That is, Veteran 2 gives it a health bonus, not the MG itself. And heading back to Budwise, who currently holds a lot less of the map than he used to. Again, the overall infantry aggressive strategy from Sean has so far paid off, but again now Budwise is adapting, he's changing, he's going to really punish that infantry now with Sherman snipers and other nasty stuff. The question is, can Sean then actually adapt to that? Can he react to this properly? Or will he risk destruction and oblivion? Sherman pushing in rather than getting suppressed though by the MG on the Stu. Stu takes another nice hit. Stormtroopers having waited for this moment. Move on. Going to strike that Sherman from the rear, although we do see two snipers ready, and there we go. Already the Stormtrooper score is down to 2 men. Very low on health. They might get the Sherman, but the snipers will get them. And here this is actually definitely a mistake from Sean. He really should just have retreated when he saw those snipers, but instead he actually decided to sacrifice his Stormtrooper squad for that Sherman. The question is, was that actually worth it, considering all the other infantry losses he's actually been suffering a lot lately? In fact, he's going to be very short of infantry now. In fact, he's down to 4 squads of infantry, 3 full gunners and 1 Stormtrooper squad. That's actually, considering what he had one stage at, a considerable difference in force. In particular, now his snipers are added into the mix. And anti-tank guns being dropped in as well. Airborne doctrine chosen for Budwise. And I do believe it is time for the mid-game analysis. We see now that, of course, Sean and the 17th SS still hold most of the map, but Budwise is already now pressing back nicely. He has adapted, he has changed his strategy, he's added in some snipers to really punish the aggressive use of infantry, particularly the Stormtroopers will really suffer to the snipers. And in that sense, we do see that Sean's strategy left him very much with a gaping hole. Again, it's very vulnerable to snipers, it's very vulnerable to more dedicated anti-infantry strategies. And the Stu-42 is a support vehicle, it is not a tank, and thus it can't really relieve you of that much pressure. On the other hand, in fact, he's getting another Stu-42, which is really bad. He should have tanked up to either Sturm Armory or a Panzer Command, and I really would go towards the Panzer Command and gun himself some Panzers. I think the situation would look a lot different. And in fact, I suggest that he gets a Panzer Command, get some Panzer Force out, and then take the fight to Budwise that way. He might even get some Night Squad soldiers to support with Stormtroopers and Volksgrenadiers, and that's another issue as well. He hasn't upgraded them except with Panzerschrecks. He might at least, wanted one squad with assault rifles, or at least a few squads with MP40s, increasing his firepower in certain ranges, so he has a bit of dichotomy. Again, he has some forces for longer range, but also something up close to really devastate Budwise there. And that is, another mistake I do feel that Sean is at the moment committing to. Of course, Budwise, was probably a bit, flabbergasted. You usually don't encounter this sort of very infantry-heavy Wehrmacht strategy, although I will say I just saw another replay, which, in fact, featured the exact same thing, so there must be someone who has written up that strategy and then someone copying it. Interestingly enough, I think Budwise should basically continue getting a few more Shermans, perhaps some tanks, just because likely there's going to be a Tiger waiting after some more of these Stu-42s. But otherwise, keep at it, and of course remember to harass at the flanks, which Budwise is doing quite nicely. And of course the problem now is for Sean to actually hold all of the territory he has, which is a bit of a problem, because again, now his infantry is suffering heavily, and well, he didn't prepare, he didn't get mines, and no medic bunkers to sort of that way help with losses. But let us return to the fight as the Stu-42 continues to fire away, or the machine gun does. Getting another poor rifleman. Destroyed engine. That Stu-42 does not have long in this world. And we do see the Stormtroopers moving up. Bundle grenading one of the snipers. Or Panzer striking, I'm not entirely sure. 2 of them make it out there, though the sniper might get the... yes, a third. Stu-42 down, the other one pulling up, getting 1 kill in the process. Not entirely sure why he insisted on driving in like that when he knew there was an anti-tank gun there, and of course it being an airborne, it can actually reinforce from the air, although that's not very realistic. Usually you could not expect airborne to be dropped with that much precision. Right here, oh, nice hit from the Stu-42, just tears outside with the rifle, forcing the rest away with tears in their eyes and bits of their comrades, which is probably why they're crying. Bike moving up there, he's probably likely going to try and get the sniper, but you know, there's also the anti-tank gun which could very well get his bike if he's not careful. Look, Heinz, we're driving through the town. There's nobody here except some filthy Americans. And there you go, Volkswagen is leading the counter-attack. Can he overwhelm this position? Can he get the snipers over Budwise, for example, you know, get off some suppressive fire from the rifle and stop the Volksgrenadier assault? Or just get off a grenade at the right place? Volksgrenadier sniped. Bit dead now. Stu-42 going to sneak in from the northern part of the town, it seems, following the lake shore. Engineers in the cafe get a nasty surprise, and we see a recon run, quickly allowing Budwise to see what is going on if he has to worry about anything sneaking up on him further, which there is not. Sean's forces, in fact, are very depleted. He's got those 4 infantry squads, Stu-42 and a bike, that's it. Which actually means that Budwise has a slightly larger force, I think. No, in fact, they're the same size. We do see that Budwise is actually forced away because Sean's force is a bit more direct heavy. The question is, who will win this one? And there we go, the bike rather determines it. Clears out the entire crew, sending airborne troops flying everywhere, including some into the ditch filled with water. A watery doom for that airborne. Oh, the irony. He was airborne but died in the sea. Well, not the sea, but doesn't sound very lyrical if I say lake then. A few snipers waiting there. Shells, Budwise should be getting some more armor or something. And he has rushed off, and there we go, quickly recruiting the anti-tank, and this time with a few rascally riflemen. And of course the snipers then again proceeding to punish Charles Blanchard's heavy infantry run with again a bit of lack of, you know, otherwise support units. For example, again, a Nebelwerfer might have helped quite considerably right here. Or a Schukersfuss. Or just some bleeding panzers. We do see several pioneer squads now rhyming on the field. They are not repairing. Oh, there we go. Gutes Arbeit, Männer. Once more things quieten down a bit, and we do see Budwise slowly but surely creeping out. He's down to below the 200 victory points, and he's getting a third sniper. He's basically going to continue what so far has worked nicely for him, and we see another Stu-42. Sean seems to think that a Stu-42 will lead him to ultimate victory. I, on the other hand, am not so confident in that. It's great for supporting, but again, it's not a tank, and rather I get the impression that Sean thinks it is and can thus lead him to victory. I mean, it's not really good to send in an infantry or assault gun without infantry support. And right there, of course, we see it quickly sticky bomb, damage engine. If Budwise had his tank destroy right now, he could just easily roll in and knock it out. We see the other Stu-42 rolling in, trying to assist the first one. And thus a swift retreat from Budwise is initiated, getting out of the remainders of the cemetery. But another rifle squad pushes in. Shall they immobilize the other beast, or shall they get the devil out of there? And there we go, Budwise pursuing a strategy of aggressive harassment. Heading here, there, everywhere, forcing Sean to actually spread out more, which again is currently what he's angry at trouble with, the lack of infantry, in fact, because of all the infantry loss he's suffered. He can't really maintain a continuous front line, which is likely what is hurting him. And there we go, another Volkswagen squad is down. Infantry losses continue to mount. And in fact, he's down to 3 squads, which actually puts Budwise at a bit of the advantage, I think, particularly with 3 snipers to add in. Supply drops being popped in. And there we go, Hellcats arriving, finally using some of all that fuel being stockpiled.
Losing a victory. We are losing a victory point.
But it is looking harder and harder for Sean to maintain control and to maintain a front line. Again, he's not replacing his infantry, he just keeps getting more students, which, you know, aren't infantry. For those not initiated in the field of what is infantry. Not infantry. Infantry. Not infantry. Infantry. Just so there's no doubt on the matter. And now we do see another Stormtrooper squad called in. Having lost faith in his Volks Grenadiers, it seems. He now relies on the Stormtroopers. And there we go. Stu 42 quickly getting overwhelmed by Hellcat. Hellcat flanking. Anti-tank and finding way in support. Panzergrenadiers flying at the Hellcat. Only one actually connect. And there go the Stormtroopers immediately come under fire from the sniper. And there goes Stu 42 goes down. Stormtroopers need to get out of there, but they likely will go down on the retreat to the snipers. No, he makes it past the church. And he survives. And Sean seems to think this is all a big hook. Which seems a bit odd. I don't see what the joke is.
We have a secured sector under attack.
Unless we're talking his unit composition and his complete refusal to move beyond anything that isn't Volks Grenadiers, Stormtroopers or Stu 42s. Or like their Tiger in the future. Stu 42, they're getting blasted rather than going to map with a sticky bomb, but nope, does get without range. And quickly killing a few of the riflemen. Volks guys moving up to support. A smaller move up here, grenade. Sends them running. And the Stormtroopers are ready to sneak up, hit Budwise in the flank. Ooh, another recon run. Budwise intent on keeping an eye clear on things. Of course, he's going to spot the Stormtroopers. They're going to call out in the open. Now we do see a bun grenade. Clearing out the anti-tank and allowing the Stu-42 to move in, if he decides to actually move it in, instead of having him do nothing then. In which case he's actually giving. And he's retreating the Stormtroopers. They're down to 3 men. They're going to go down. That is just poor tactical awareness from him. Rather up here getting plastered by a few pioneers and their mines. Bike rolling in, but it's too late now. Now we do see the Hellcat in instead. And Sean is really falling apart now in his strategic department. Losing men without good reason. At the same time, he's going to have to recruit that anti-tank, and if he wants a chance, but no, Flamethrower engineers moving up. Stu 42 is going to be lost. And we see a Tiger. The Tiger has arrived. Will it save Sean and the 17th SS, or has he already doomed himself? It's time to look at Sean again. Now you go down to half health, but he does get the other Stu 42. Anti-tank and quickly recruit, and the Tiger moves in without infantry support. And there we go, we do see that shot. Budwise, I mean, he's actually flanking his Tiger, going to hit in the rear. At the same time, anti-tank and flank from the front, rifle moving in with sticky bombs. This is a really, really bad situation for Sean and his Tiger. Now he does get one of the tank. The storage question is, will he be able to get salvage the Tiger? Get it out of there. And damaged engine on the Tiger. Nice shot there from the Hellcat. And there's still no infantry support. We do see the pioneers and everything else being rushed in to try and save the day. Rear armor hits. Stormtroopers moving up with that Panzer strikes. And the Tiger goes down. The Tiger goes down. Hellcat swoops away with veterans free. And no, the joke is that you send in a Tiger without support and expected it to win. A Tiger was meant to lead an assault, or, well, lead a defense. And the heaviest spot was not meant to do it on its bloody own. Mine's going down there. He's still maintaining most of the map, but he can't hold the map for much longer because the losses he has suffered in the process are simply too high, and that's where Budwise then shows himself to be the better player by having better tactical awareness and also much better unit preservation. No, it's not chance, it's a slightly unfortunate unit composition which ultimately betrayed you in the long run. And again, the fact that you ride ultimately only on Stu 42s and didn't get, again, a Sturm Army or a Panzer Command, or which Panzer Command would have been better, get a few Panzer Force, and I bet you that Sean would have done a lot better than he actually did. Hell, even a few Stugs would have helped him. But there you go. Some people, it is better to blame it on chance than on themselves. Things grind down more, and we do see Budwise really going in heavily, going for all the vital cut-off points, denying vital resources to what is left of Sean's now battered force. Once proud, once strong in men, now there's barely anything left, which is rather sad. Sadly. And Budwise's force, of course, continues to grow. Grenadier gets a few hits, but there we go. Strafing run and sniper fire. Tearing through the Pfalz Grenadiers, threatening to tear through the Stormtroopers as well. Looks like another Tiger tank will be prepared, but will it be wasted as sadly as the first one?
We're losing territory.
Another Hellcat rolling up from Budwise.
Let's find some Amerikaner.
There we go, the Tiger tank has arrived. Tiger ist bereit. But the odds are stacked against it and ultimately against Sean's strategy. There we go, Rifleman getting engaged by the Tiger, firing its high explosive rounds against it, splattering out one Rifleman, leaving the others a bit wounded. And Rifleman sneaking up behind the Tiger, and Sean almost seems to be accommodating them. But now does get several of them more, but without infantry support they will get off the Sticky Bomb, and it will quickly be a much easier target for other bits to overtake. No Sticky Bombs from Budwise, and he's in fact forced to retreat, interestingly enough. Rifleman squad almost wiped out by the Tiger. That was bloody damn close. And a bit unexpected. I would have imagined a Sticky Bomb and then a retreat, not just getting shot at and then a retreat.
What are your orders?
Sean moving up to the rest of his forces. Slowly. And a lot of Hellcats being prepared here for Budwise to quickly overwhelm the Tiger. It's definitely bad news for Sean. And there we go, the Rifleman taking up position in the field, hoping to perhaps create a flanking position for when Sean advances with his Tiger, so he can actually sneak up behind and get off a Sticky Bomb. But no, looks like he's been spotted. No, he's just moving on. Going to just take the victory point and the munitions up there. Tiger moves in for the kill. No, decides not to. Come on, Sean. Make a decision. Looks like a few pioneers were cut down like wheat in autumn. Oh, Stormtroopers got crushed. Definitely bad news for Jean there. Now moving back his Tiger. Snipers moving up. Tiger's rear is exposed. Definitely not looking good. And a Sticky Bomb. Sean's Tiger use is definitely leaving a lot to be desired. Another unit down. 17th SS has taken heavy losses. Shot bounces off the front of the Tiger, or at least the front of the turret. And now trying to get it back to the base. I want to get some pioneers then, since it was clear he was in fact saving up resources to actually get a replacement Tiger just in case something went wrong. He might also want to consider getting veterans free. We see airborne infantry now driving in to assist Budwise in his endeavors. Fight continues to be a bit slow, so let's just speed it up. Since again it's rather clear that Sean has not got much left in. We do see veterans free on the way. Small hooray. Stormtroopers spotted out in the open. And easy targets, easy prey for the snipers. And Sean showing himself not to be a very good sportsman either, in particular again, since he seems to be calling his opponent a noob, which tends to be a lot more of a reflective word than you'd think. It says more about you if you call someone it than it actually says about your opponent, I find. So that's always the fun part about that word. But there you go, let's return to Budwise. Volksgrenadier is retreating, and again, just no huge difference in force now. Ultimately, the force composition that Sean had gone for, in particular, again, all the stews pretty much retreating. We see Blitzkrieg, a last desperate push from Sean, dashing in with a stew as well, and lots of pioneers. And there you go, tank destroyers rolling in, airborne rolling in. Perhaps he could recrew that 30 cal with one of the Blitz pioneers and suppress any infantry moving in. But he needs to turn the Tiger's front armor. But no such luck. And there we go, we see the assault has gone quite awry. He's trying to pull out. But we see Budwise sitting in from every angle, sticky bombing, finding a way to recall his rifles. Doing heavy damage to Sean's armor. Tiger almost down, in fact. Also, the fun fact about this recordless rifle is it actually didn't see service in Normandy. It was only available by 1945. And even then was only in small amounts. Fun fact there was also a much bigger version of it, the 75mm recoilless rifle, which actually had to be fired a bit more like an anti-tank gun, but there you go. Game over. We saw some interesting Wehrmacht play in the beginning, lots of infantry, lots of veterans, and then pushing forward, actually doing right, but again, as he hit the mid-game and then the late game, there was a problem that became abundantly clear. It was very much a one-shot type of force which was very vulnerable to very few specific things, including snipers, and that combined with some slight problems with unit preservation as things came on. He had to manage a lot more infantry. Losses began suddenly piling up very high. He had a very hard time actually controlling it. He suffered a lot, and he kept sort of trying to hope the Stu-42 would save him, but it wouldn't. Again, it's not really that sort of armor. You need actual tanks to do what he wanted to do with the Stu-42s. And in that sense, he should have gone for the Panzer Command instead, gotten himself a Panzer IV-2, and that way he probably would have won. But sadly, he did not. Instead, what waited him was defeat, and clearly some poor sportsmanship right there. Budwise, on the other hand, struggled a bit in the beginning. Again, it's not very often you see that sort of play from the Wehrmacht, but he overcame, he identified the weakness of it, and he punished it. And then he just kept on adding to it, creating a more varied force, which could also handle armor better, which was another problem with Sean's force. It really didn't handle armor very good. He only had a few Panzerix, and again, those Panzerix were easily dispatched by the snipers. Again, he had some panzers, things might have looked different, or had he also had some artillery. So again, it was a bit, in some ways, a bit of a shallow force. And again, there was also the other consideration of he didn't upgrade his infantry with anything except Panzerschrecks. Had he tried some MP40s or Sturmgewehrs, I think he also would have benefited greatly from that. But there you go, another episode of the Propagandacast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends? Share it. If you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own? Provide some feedback in the comments. This is Imperial Dane saying thank you for watching.